the rugged cliffs of Bell Island, Newfoundland. Beneath this austere beauty, there is a long-held secret. An archaeological treasure, tens of kilometers worth of tunnels, an abandoned, flooded iron ore mine that's been untouched for 50 years. Now, a team of elite explorers and scientists is heading in.
A lot of puddle here.
But the mine has proven that it will not give up its secrets easily. Explorers tried before to delve into these damp tunnels with tragic consequences.
I finally had permission to go in 2007. Well, there was a fatality, and the guy had a tumor which caused an embolism, and he died. So that kind of put it on the shelf.
Many people call cave diving one of the most dangerous things that you can ever do. There are pieces of equipment, there are pillars and beams, and, frankly, we don't know completely about the stability of this place, and we'll have to kind of learn as we go along. So yeah, there's definitely dangers.
MineQuest has other goals in addition to archaeology and exploration. They'll be human guinea pigs.
Push that gas, come on! Good, perfect.
Researchers will track them for signs of decompression sickness, pressure-related gas bubbles that form in the blood, often with fatal consequences.
Here's where you decide, Steve, if you don't want.
And this research doesn't just apply to scuba divers.
We've been working with NASA for more than 15 years now, and we've generated 2 pre-breathe protocols to help astronauts get out of the spacecraft or the space station faster to safely do a spacewalk.
You want to keep your knees down.
For Dr. Neil
Put your hands
Pollack,
over each other.
they're data that just
Laying your
can't
back.
be obtained in a lab.
In and out, just relax.
We could recreate most of these dives in the lab, but there is such a wide number of variables that occur in real settings. If all you do is lab work, you lose touch with the messiness of real life.
The idea to explore the mine is Rick Stanley's. It's taken him 8 years to pull the right team together.
There was people lined up. We had to turn away people.
To track
The
everything.
2 team
besides,
leaders, Jill
this
Heinrich
amazing team,
and Steve
we
Lewis,
have a couple of
among
other
the
really
foremost
interesting
underwater
ones. We've got some
explorers in the
interesting
world
growth on all the
today.
Equipment, we're going to definitely be sampling. Absolutely wonderful to have this incredible group of people together. Everybody has to be on their best game. Everybody has to be really careful with their risk analysis.
Safety, of course, is paramount. Logistically, I think we're going to have a challenge here. We're going to have some late nights and some early mornings, so I hope everyone's up for it.
And it is like a chess match, putting it all together.
A chess match that began weeks before the scientists and divers arrived. Local team members have put in an enormous amount of work just getting the site ready.
Site prep, all was blood, sweat, and tears, but I had galls on my hands. As you can imagine, there's a mine shaft that hasn't been worked in since 1960 probably, or before. And so there was all kinds of debris and iron ore dust and everything just caked on this floor of the mine. And we wanted to get it down to bedrock so that we can have something safe to walk on.
But everything is ready now. Time to get the team across to Bell Island. A snowstorm the night before means the team has to dig out the mine entrance. And while they're busy doing that, Neil Pollack sets up his equipment with his assistant, Stephanie Martina. The divers will give blood samples several times each day. Comparing pre- and post-dive samples will enable the scientists to look for indicators that stress and pressure affect microparticles, fragments of plasma shed by cells. They'll also be taking ultrasound images of the divers' hearts to look for bubble formation, another indicator of decompression stress.
Go ahead.
And they'll be gathering DNA samples for an experiment that will see whether stress reprograms people on a genetic level.
You can pull that out now.
If we were able to come up with a good diagnostic test of decompression sickness, that would translate to clinical medicine.
Meanwhile, volunteers are doing the grunt work of getting the divers' gear down to the edge of the water in the old flooded mine.
We're going to bring it back around now, and we're going to bring it around that staging area.
Divers are using the latest generation of rebreather, allowing them to explore deeper into the mine. But there's a risk. Rebreathers are complicated machines. A malfunction can turn your air supply into a poisonous gas in a heartbeat. This week, the MineQuest team will only explore the smallest fraction of the total area, a few hundred meters in a mine that runs for tens of kilometers. The first two team members into the water, Phil Short and Gemma Smith, both experienced scientific divers from the UK. Their job? To lay in a safety line so the other divers don't get lost in the maze of tunnels.
A lot of people look into a cave or a mine in our case, and they see complete darkness, and they're terrified about what might be around the next corner. For those of us that are explorers, that's actually what drives us. Wondering what's around the next corner and then going there and being the first people to see something that nobody's ever seen before.
Divers are entering a world that's been untouched for the past 50 years. The waters of an abandoned iron ore mine beneath Bell Island, Newfoundland. This world is a maze of tunnels covering tens of kilometers. The first divers lay in a safety line for a group of explorers who will begin mapping the tunnels and doing an inventory of what's left. It's a world filled with amazing artifacts and intense danger, razor-sharp edges that can tear equipment, and fine mine dust that can suddenly obliterate a diver's ability to see.
Very good. It's beautiful in there. That was amazing. Woo! That was amazing.
One ore car upside down with two sets of bogies. There's the tunnel numbers on all the walls, like 54, 55, etc., which is pretty cool.
I didn't realise just how huge it is, but it's untouched. I mean, it really is.
The MineQuest explorers are also conducting groundbreaking scientific research on decompression stress. To find out how bodies react when divers are placed in deep, cold water under huge amounts of stress.
You're making history, so you are.
After a few days, while the expedition has run smoothly under the water, above the ground has been a different story.
You can do a lot of research and a lot of planning before an expedition, and you can try and anticipate everything that might occur. But guaranteed, there's going to be a lot of unexpected things that happen.
It starts with a storm that closes down the ferry, separating them from the vital supplies on the mainland. Oxygen tanks for the rebreathers that divers use underwater, food supplies for the whole group. Expedition organizer Rick Stanley decides nothing will stop them. He risks his life to cross the bay on his small boat. He downplays the danger.
We're adventurers. This is what feeds us. The winds were right. The winds were on our tail. Yes, we had to climb a few nice big waves and, come down over another one, but it wasn't that bad.
Bear in mind, a 170-foot steel ferry had stopped running because of this storm. And, as if the storm wasn't enough, the same day, the area of the mine where they're working floods.
Holy moly. Yeah, man. There's a lot of water. The other dock is floating. We're just going to grin and bear it here.
The dive team has to start again. Lay in new safety lines from a new tunnel.
So the objective of today is to remove this deep line, which serves no purpose.
Everyone chips in to haul the thousands of kilograms of gear from one tunnel to the next. And yet, despite all the adversity, the explorers have not missed a beat. They've already made some fascinating discoveries. living organisms that exist in the pitch black and seem to feed off iron ore.
Did you see the white growth on the ends of the wood?
Yeah, like webby,
Yeah.
almost. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that, and that gray stuff you were talking about.
Yeah.
Right in the one cross section where it's a rail bed. There's the rail bed, and then there's like.
There's that big bacterial mat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kinda cool.
That was really cool.
Samples of the bacteria are collected and sent to the University of British Columbia. They've also found pumps that originally kept these mines dry, and a personal touch added by the man who used to run the pump, James Bennett.
The mine feels a bit like a church to me. You know, if I wasn't underwater, if I was walking in there, I would want to whisper,
And every time the divers surface, Neil Pollock is waiting to take his samples for his decompression study.
Just hold it up. Yep.
After several days of work, he's beginning to have misgivings about his theory that microparticles, fragments of plasma shed by cells, may predict decompression illness.
It's the messiness of microparticle data. They're so variable on an individual basis, it may well be that they won't prove to be useful as a diagnostic tool.
Ultimately, though, Neil is happy with the data he's gathered. He does stress that he'll need time to assess what it all means.
Well, these observational studies are very difficult to get the definitive set of data out of. We've been working on this for more than 6 years, and we're just starting to prepare the first manuscripts right now.
The divers think they've wedged open the door of a whole new world to explore. They've penetrated a few hundred meters into a world that covers nearly 35 square kilometers.
We have just scratched the surface. We have done such a small piece of this mine so far and just established some basic guidelines and parameters for coming back here again.
And Rick Stanley thinks he's started to build something very important for the province of Newfoundland.
How fortunate am I that I got people that's willing to work with me to build a project like this, as a legacy to all those people who lost their lives.